I'm thrilled today's guest, a good buddy of mine, the great Stephanie Ruhle, host of the 11th Hour. Also, everywhere omnipresent on NBC and other places, chief business mojo person who knows all about all. How are you, kid?
I'm so happy to see you, Donny. I wish it was in person.
Yeah. So we're 30 days into Trump 2.0. Give me the report card.
I haven't been paying attention at all.
No, neither have I. So give me the report card, good and bad.
Listen, America voted for something different, and they are getting something different. If you think about the last 30 days, it has been absolutely overwhelming, the amount of executive orders. And we have to start with the fact that you have a president, and Joe Biden did it too, is pushing so much stuff through via executive order, tells all of us that the government's not working. None of this should be happening. All of this should be happening with congressional approval. But Congress has made it its job over the last 10 to 15 years to do absolutely nothing and take pride in the fact that it's absolute gridlock all the time. And that's not serving the American people. So it's why the American people feel like government's not working for me, so nothing's getting done. And what do they get? A president that is on an absolute tear with executive orders, many of which don't suit the American people. Now, I would say that Elon Musk and this Doge effort, in theory, it's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Okay? 99% of the American people say the government is too fat. We need to make cutbacks. We may have too many agencies, and there may be redundancies, and you want to combine them. However, the fact that it's Elon Musk doing this is the problem. Now, Elon Musk advocates would say, look how lucky we are. We have the greatest American builder, the greatest businessman out there now devoting himself and his business acumen to cleaning up the government. I would buy that argument if he divested himself from his businesses. Donny, Can you imagine if back when Hank Paulson became the Treasury Secretary, imagine if he was Treasury Secretary and CEO of Goldman Sachs at the same time, right? Yeah. People at that time took issue with the fact that he used to work at Goldman. Right. So I have a huge problem with the fact that Elon Musk is overseeing 7 companies. He has $20 billion in government contracts, and he's wildly conflicted. Remember, there are many, many, many investigations, even lawsuits against Tesla, between Tesla and the federal government. And are they going to start to disappear? I mean, just yesterday, the team of people that work at the FDA that were researching his brain implant Neuralink, they were fired or they were laid off. Now, can you say, oh my gosh, that was, that was on purpose, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? But it doesn't look good. And the other point I would just make with regard to Elon Musk, that was kind of my standout moment. We've already watched Congress roll over. Right? Chuck Grassley said it yesterday. All we can do is complain about Elon Musk. There's nothing we can do. He has an unlimited budget and he could primary anyone. So Congress has let Musk Bigfoot them. And until now, the business community has been kind of quiet. I think that's going to change. And here's why. Last week, when Trump was interviewed in the Oval Office, Modi was there, the Prime Minister of India. And people said, where's Modi? And he said, actually, he's across the street. He's meeting with Elon Musk. So Elon Musk was at Blair House meeting with Modi. And Eamon Javers asked the president, what are they meeting about? And he's like, I'm not really sure. Probably some government stuff, some business stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm like, some business stuff? How do you think all the other massive tech titans are feeling that on government property, in a meeting that's sort of like head of state versus head of state, behind closed doors, Elon Musk, who knows, maybe he's making a deal for a gigafactory in India. But he now has such an edge with other world leaders. And you saw at the inauguration, you had Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman and Tim Cook and all these guys up there jockeying because they know Trump is transactional. I wonder now that they see that Elon Musk truly has the inside lane. Right in the last week, we saw that Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, is about to have layoffs. You think that SpaceX is? Hell no. Elon Musk has been saying for years and years, his goal, his dream is to go to Mars. And so I'm kind of holding my breath saying, you're cutting every possible budget under the sun. You're wiping out USAID. You're getting rid of agencies. Wait until Elon Musk gets his wish and the government is spending billions of dollars to go to Mars. I'm not familiar with any voting bloc in this country that's saying they want to see our federal dollars go there.
what could possibly cause the Trump Musk bromance to blow up a little bit? I mean, this is a storyline that you just is going to continue to write itself in twisted, bizarre ways. They're almost so dependent on each other at this point.
See, yes. And so for everybody who says like Elon's going to get bored of this or they're going to fight, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I agree.
don't think Elon's going to get bored of it, because when you look at all these business guys, they already have an unimaginable amount of money.
This is a whole different. They don't have his power and influence. And right.
What they don't have is unlimited power, right? Yeah. At best, before Trump, a CEO could hope to have a direct line into the White House. They could call into the Oval Office. Trump has made it abundantly clear that he's transactional. They can get what they want out of him. He's less unpredictable to them than he was last time around. They know everything is let's make a deal, right? In the last week, right? He's completely siding with Putin, except, hey, Ukraine, we might help you if you give me a cut of your rare earth minerals.
Give us 50% of your minerals.
Okay? Like, yes, because Trump has shown as long as he operates in a way that, like, you know, make sure you pay me a toll and then there's something to do.
What Trump is doing that's and my world that I travel in is a big Trump world, and these are a lot of swing voters who went back and forth and are back with Trump, is that he gives people on the big picture the stuff they want. I'll talk about Trump, well, I have this issue with Trump, and they go, well, but he's closed the border. And look what he's doing for Israel. And even in the case of Ukraine, which we know has the dangers of long-term democracy and what happens next, and is Poland in trouble, the average person goes, well, he's making peace. He's stopping 2 wars. You know, and what are we giving all this money to Ukraine for also? So he's able to connect with people on a very macro level, and people turn their heads the other way in some of the things that are very, very concerning.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, you know branding better than me, but Donald Trump has a celebrity boss bully energy that he uses to his benefit.
People love it.
Right. So even if you're saying, I don't want the mass deportations to happen, you know, things are too draconian, we know that the numbers go down when Trump is in office, because he makes it abundantly clear, don't you dare fucking come here, because we don't want you. And I'm not complimenting him for it. I'm not insulting him. But his approach to it lowers the number of people who want to come here. And we'll see what happens, obviously, with this whole tariff game. But he puts out an energy that says, you better not run me over. We'll see if that works. I mean, what he's doing with Ukraine and Europe is so puzzling right now. And the way he lifts.
I don't think it's puzzling. And you even talked about this, is that and this is the one thing about Trump, he tells you what he feels. He loves Putin. He wants the same kind of power Putin has. There's no surprise here. Wait a second. Putin's really in charge. And so I mean, it makes sense to me.
Okay, so this is such a good point, because people look at Russia and they say, like, why does Trump remove the idea? Let's say that Russia had no involvement in election interference in 2016. Let's say they did nothing, okay? Because some people say, oh, Trump owes Putin something. Let's say he owes Putin nothing. Why does Trump like Putin? They got a crap economy. There's nothing particularly special.
They're a third world company, third world country.
Except the following.
Absolute power.
Vladimir Putin, who used to just be a KGB agent. That's it. No. That guy is one of the richest
guys
in the world. Yes. And that's Donald Trump's focus. And what are we watching right now? Donald Trump now surround himself with the richest of rich people. Look what he's doing in crypto. Look at his crypto exchange. Look at him selling gear. He is for years, we joked about how he went bankrupt 6 times and the guy isn't actually rich. You know when he's rich? Now. Richer than his wildest dreams.
Yeah. So a lot of us in the media cautioned about democracy with voting Trump and the fragility of it. Where have we been right and where have we been wrong so far as what should we be concerned about, and what did we overreact to, if anything?
Listen, democracy is absolutely at risk. Take yourself back to Schoolhouse Rock and the 3 separate but equal branches of government. We need those pillars, right? We need those checks and balances, and they're being removed, right? We saw a major U.S. attorney resign yesterday because Pam Bondi's office was looking for her to freeze assets on a Joe Biden approved grant and pursue legal action when there was no evidence. we have to be so incredibly concerned that while they're having these massive layoffs, yes, there are areas that we should clean up. But if they were saying, Donny, okay, if they came out and said, we're going to get rid of the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they could say, listen, we came up with it after the housing crisis. It wasn't necessarily set up well. Listen, we did help a lot of people, but we have too many agencies. We have the SEC, we got the FTC, blah, blah. We're going to bind them. If Donald Trump or even Elon Musk went to the podium in the White House and said, here are the redundancies that we see. Here's where we're going to clean it up. If you walked in to take over a company, you would definitely have layoffs. You'd combine departments, but they're not doing that. They're just laying off people. Just this weekend, Donny, they let people go who are in charge of the stockpile of our nuclear arsenal. They lay them off, and then 2 days later, they cannot even find the contact information for these people to hire them back.
You know, you and I both know from business that there are CEO cost cutters, and there are those that cut to a business to the bone, they hurt the business, and then there's cost cutters and there's efficiency. And we're talking about that pendulum right here.
And so that's the question. Are they going to cut the government down to its studs so they can fulfill an ultimate goal of privatizing it? And that's something we have to pay attention to. And my last point about democracy, this is a very, very difficult thing to run on or to explain to the American people. But we are 15 years and 1 month from the Citizens United decision being made that basically
which was the worst Supreme Court decision of all time.
Ever.
That's what cut into our democracy more than anything.
Yes. So we now have unlimited corporate dark money dollars in our political system. So when the American people say the government doesn't work for me, you're right. It doesn't work for you. It works for corporate interests. And I also don't even begrudge corporations because they're gaming the system. Everybody is working for themselves. Do I begrudge any of those CEOs for going to the inauguration or for going to Mar-a-Lago?
Doing what they need to do.
They're doing what they need to do because they don't want to be Bob Iger. They don't want to be, listen, you could say they're going to end up, I do think Mark Zuckerberg could end up on the wrong side. He's gone much further than he needed to go.
I think basically saying no fact checking, I don't know, that seems a little silly. Seems a little kind of antithetical to everything we're about.
No fact checking, and that Facebook needs more masculine energy. Call me when he's got masculine energy.
With the white sunblock on his face.
Correct.
That's a classic picture. Let's shift to the Democrats because I'm an independent basically at this point. I mean, it's very hard. People will say to me, what should the Democrats be doing now? What's their messaging right now? Problem is Democrats have nothing. There's not, you could sit there and go, Trump's doing this wrong, but there is nothing to point to on the Democratic side. Say, but we should be doing this. There is no there right now. I can never remember a political party being so gutted at this point. Like, I'm not sure what I would tell them to do is right now, you just keep raising your hand when things are going off the track and wait for things to go off the track because I'm not quite sure what the fuck your message is right now.
Honestly, I do not know. This is a really tricky time for them. They have to read the American people. Now, Trump is not being honest when he says they won in a landslide. They won. They won fair and square.
An electoral landslide, but
correct.
They won by 1.5 points. I mean,
Correct. What the Democrats' next move should be is really challenging. Listen, there's a lot of folks out there that are angry. There's a lot of people that are angry at President Biden for running again.
I am.
Yes, there's. Listen, he said he was going to be a bridge president. He got and listen, for him, I can't speak for him, but think about all of his legislative wins. Nobody thinks about them or talks about them.
No.
His legacy right now is that
he was too old, right?
At his age and sort of cemented in people's memory is that debate. And I don't know how he gets out from under that. I don't think it's a 4-alarm fire that Democrats don't have their coordinated message yet. We're 30 days in. It has been absolute chaos.
32. I'm counting,
32.
By the way.
It's absolute chaos. And they don't have that many levers to pull. What they have.
That's it. They don't. I don't know what the lever they pull is. You could basically start to say.
They don't have any. Right. So people could say, don't you remember when Nancy Pelosi went to the White House and she roughed Donald Trump up? Yeah, because he needed the votes. They don't need Democrats right now. They have a very slim majority, but Republicans, for the most part, stand together. What Democrats have going for them is to just sit here and watch Trump, because the amount that he's doing, once it trickles down, right, Donny, we are less than 2 months away from tax day. If you file your taxes electronically, you should get your refund within 21 days. The IRS was already woefully understaffed.
Mhm.
Now here we are going into a tax season when there shouldn't be delays because of COVID. If people don't get their refunds, if there's now an issue with Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid, that is going to hurt lawmakers in red states and blue states. And we'll see, how all of that works out.
You keep talking about all the executive orders that Trump is doing and what he's doing and the amount of stuff. One of the points that he's getting is that he's doing. I talked to a lot of people and that there was such a benignness to, Biden was absent. There was nothing getting done. And I think in the case of just do it, he's scoring points for that, even when a lot of the do's are not so good.
Okay, but here's the bullshit of that. He's not doing more. What he has,
the perception.
But yes. So what you're actually talking about is the extraordinary apparatus that is right-wing media. Okay. Joe Biden, on a bipartisan basis, had more legislative wins than any president in modern history.
Yes.
Even if you think about what he did with insulin costs, even if you think what he did with hearing aids.
But he wasn't out there. He wasn't out there. It didn't feel like it. Yes, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, we can go on and on and on. And bipartisan stuff that got through, to your point, more than any in a generation. Yet he wasn't present. He wasn't driving around at the Daytona 500.
Okay, ready? But stay with me on this, because I don't know the answer to it. He wasn't driving the beast around a lap at an IndyCar race. But if Biden had, let's say he had, Republicans would be losing their shit saying Kentucky is about to face the worst weather ever and you're wasting tax dollars, going to the track. Right? If Joe Biden would have gone to the Super Bowl, people would have said, "Are you fucking kidding me? Do you know how much it costs?
Right.
Do you know how much it costs for a president to go to the Super Bowl? $20 million." Yet Donald Trump's kind of devil may care, I'm here, get used to it. He has that right-wing media universe is so powerful and so strong. Combine that with the fact that we've got news deserts in this country where you've got giant pockets that don't have general news, and they're believing what right-wing media is telling them.
Well, one of the reasons right now right-wing media is so powerful is that Trump has chosen some very telegenic, communicative people to be out there. So you see Alina Hobb out there. You see Pete Hegseth out there. You see Pam Bondi out there. Physically attractive, telegenic, good communicators. He hired salespeople to sell for him.
Okay, Donny, this is the best point you've ever made in the history of ever.
Okay.
So when all these people were nominated, and take out Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, who actually have serious conflicts because of their background. Everyone kept laughing at Trump saying, he's hiring TV personalities, ha, ha, ha. He hired them because they're great communicators.
Yeah.
Okay? And they catch, and again, I'm not saying they're smart. I'm not saying they're qualified. But what those people need to be are messengers. And there's a decent chance they could end up being more impactful messengers than the highest, right? Right. So I've interviewed Janet Yellen 6 times. She's brilliant. She's qualified. She's amazing.
Right.
And you know what? When I do interviews with her, the only place it airs is my show, because I can't get other shows to take it, because she's giving correct, long, boring answers. And my last point to that is it's easy to lie and be a bully, because that makes headlines, right? A complicated, nuanced answer doesn't fit in a push notification. Yeah. But Trump cuts this, Trump fires that, does fit. And people connect to it. So you're hitting on the most important point, which, listen, Donald Trump is a super skilled politician and he's great at branding. The problem is what he's actually doing and the consequences of that.
We're going to really know where we are when something goes to the Supreme Court. And it's a question of, does it get to a point in this where basically the Supreme Court rules and he goes, well, go send me your army. You don't have one. In other words, do we ever get to the point where he just says to the courts, go fuck yourself?
We may. We're going to know where we really are when we have a financial crisis, We're going to know where we really are if crypto blows up, if bird flu gets out of control, right? Think about what was the defining disaster for President Trump? COVID.
Right.
COVID. And so right now, listen, everybody likes it when you take the rules off, right? We're currently in a deregulatory bonanza. And then when something blows up and everybody freaks out and they go, who was supposed to be in charge? Where were the guardrails? We'll soon find out how that's going to work out.
How are you buds on Wall Street feeling about everything?
Mixed. On one hand, you thought it was going to be this mergers and acquisitions bonanza. There was going to be no rules. It was going to be fantastic. And for the most part, we know Trump's going to enlist the tax cuts. That's great news for them, not for the rest of the world. We know he's going to have the tax cuts. We know there's going to be no regulation standing in the way of anything. However, investors do want regularity. They do want predictability. What he's currently doing in Europe, potentially, really, really siding with Putin, not just like Putin's my boy, I winked at him and helped.
No, Zelensky is your fault. I mean, to that degree.
To me, yesterday, Donald Trump actually saying to the American people, Ukraine started the war.
Yeah.
Investors are looking at that saying, hold on a minute here. Like that's crazy. And what kind of policy is going to find it? Now, you're not seeing investors freak out about tariffs that much because I think Trump really is using them as a game.
Yeah,
tariffs
absolutely.
Are one place where he does get to be a kingmaker, not just who he's imposing the tariffs on, but who's getting the exception.
Yeah.
So if you run any country, if you run any company, you are tap dancing your way to Mar-a-Lago or to the White House to make sure you saddle up to him and get an exception. Because if he imposes tariffs and you get an exception, that's the best way you're getting a legal monopoly.
I want to shift gears to you calling Trump, which I think is such a great story, where basically a couple of weeks before the election, you dial your phone, you have Trump's number, you get him on the phone, pick it up from there.
So it's the day after Trump has that crazy rally at Madison Square Garden. It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I have his phone number on my phone. And I had seen him at the Al Smith dinner 2 months before. And so I called him and I couldn't believe he answered. And it was an off the record call. There wasn't anything to report. I called him and I asked him for an interview. And it was a silly back and forth, blah, 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 blah. And in the end, I said, listen, it's 5 days before the election. You just interviewed all of Puerto Rico and half of Latinos in the country. There's a cleanup to be done here. Do you want to sit down for an interview? You got 5 days left. And he complained about MSNBC or blah, 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 blah. And in the end, of course, he said no. But I think the interesting thing...
Didn't he actually say, go fuck yourself?
He did not.
Oh,
he
okay.
Did not.
Okay.
He did not.
Oh,
I said it in jest. Something like,
got it. As a
in the
metaphor.
end, he said, go fuck yourself. As a
Right.
metaphor. No, my point was, I guess I was drawing a comparison between the two. I got to sit down and do an interview with Kamala Harris about the economy. I had been pitching Donald Trump to do the same interview, a 20-minute interview on the economy. And Kamala Harris's team is so organized and so prepared and so protected that you can't get to them, right? If I wanted to reach Kamala Harris, I would have no means to do so, right? Like Pony Express, a pigeon, 7 letters, a rocket, who knows? You couldn't touch her. You call Donald Trump on the phone and he answers. Yes, of course, he's like, get the hell out of here. I'm not sitting down for an interview. But I think that is part of his connection to the American people, that even though people know he's not even saying something that's the truth, it's the same reason people connect with podcasts, and they're not connecting with your typical evening news program.
Sure.
People don't want to buy. People aren't, this, right? Advertising is down in magazines because nobody's saying, look at this supermodel in Vogue wearing this dress. I'm going to purchase it. They're looking at somebody on Instagram that they follow, that they like, that they know, and that's what's connecting. And Donald Trump, in that brutality of you can actually pick up your phone and call him, even though nothing fruitful comes out of it, he connects with the American people over it. And he definitely, you saw it, connects with young people. Donny, in the last election or in 2016, I remember saying, even if Trump wins, Republicans are like the Catholic Church. Like they have no plan to connect with the next generation. Why would young people aren't looking to be Catholic, young people aren't looking to be Republican. He completely flipped that script this time around with going the podcast route and just kind of the absurdity of Trump being Trump, following years for young people being so careful. I'm not going to say so woke, but yeah, so woke in what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, living in a cancel culture. And a lot of people were like, I'm sick of that. And now the pendulum has swung so unbelievably far. It has swung further back to when I started on Wall Street 25 years ago.
Talking about you calling Trump and the media, and let's just call it more of a left-leaning media, although you and I are raging centrists.
By the way, raging centrists need to stand the fuck up.
Right.
Raging centrists are people who are the most frustrated with where things are. Then you know what they need to do? Care more. I'm not saying that people need to activate and protest or but be informed. Let me ask you this. How many educated, successful people in the last 3 weeks or 6 weeks have said to you, I'm tuning out of news, I don't care. Right?
Everybody. Or they're just getting what they want, and they're not even, or you start to tell them, well, aren't you concerned, in other words, that funding is just arbitrarily being cut off? This is what Congress should be doing. And their eyes glaze over because it doesn't affect them.
Or they're like, oh my God, have you seen these condoms that were sent to Gaza? And I'm like, so my plea
goes back to out in the media space. It's just,
my plea isn't to tell somebody how to vote. It's to say, if you are lucky enough to be a person of privilege who can say, I choose to disconnect, I'm begging you, don't disconnect, because what is happening really, truly matters.
I have a theory that Trump loves having us around. He needs adversaries. He needs people that he can point to and go, look at those guys over there. When I go back to your conversation with him and the kidding around back and forth, I have a feeling nobody's been rougher on me. I have a feeling if I called him and I got through to him, it would be the same thing.
100%. Donnie, when I saw him at the Al Smith dinner, right, he's sitting directly behind me, and I look at him and he said to me, you're a stone cold killer. Why are you so hard on me? I watch you every night. He turns to Cardinal Dolan and says, you ever watch this one? She's a killer. Smart, but she'll punch you between the eyes. And you're just like, are you kidding? He loves the adversary. I will never forget, in Trump's first term, I had a meeting with Jared Kushner. And I'm, going on about this, and this. And he points, and all 6 TVs, every single network is just talking Trump, Trump, Trump. And what I think is terrible for society and culture and decency, his shamelessness, his true embrace of all press is good press, is his superpower. I think it's terrible for civilized society, but nothing embarrasses the guy. He loves the attention. He loves the fight.
Let's look at our bench, not our bench. Let's look at the bench on the Democratic side. Who would you pick as the 3 kind of people? That could be somebody that people even are talking about, that if you were going to be the new faces of the party, because when I saw the picture of Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, and Elizabeth Warren screeching in front, I wanted to peel my skin off. I'm like, no, everybody go home. Okay. So there needs to be
ready. I agree with you. And here's the thing. And this goes to the when people complain about wokeness. At a different time, or even now, if you were to say that, someone might say, well, you are ageist, or you're sexist, or you're racially insensitive, right? And none of those things are true, Donny Deutsch. You're an advocate and an ally. But there's been environments where if you criticize people, there's a problem with you criticizing them. And you're right. Lots of people have looked at Chuck Schumer going on about avocados and saying, who's going to vote for this? But Democrats do have a really impressive bench. Wes Moore, right? Moore, right? The governor of Maryland, super impressive, centrist guy. He's looking to cut budgets in the state of Maryland. I went with Wes to Aspen Ideas last summer. He blew them out of the water. It was the first time I was with a Democrat on stage who was talking about immigration. And he said he has a tough time getting people in his own family to vote Democrat. And one of their issues is their stance on immigration. And I said, why? And he said, because I've got lots of family that live at or below the poverty line. And they feel like, why is the government doing for those people and not me? Mm-hmm. And I think all of us always want this feeling of justice. Everybody wants to make sure they're getting a fair shot. And I think social media has supercharged it, but people very much feel like life isn't fair for me. Other people are getting hooked up. And that's something that it was the first time I saw a Democrat talk about that. And I think they should hold space for it, right? In Springfield, Ohio, nobody was eating cats and dogs, but there were a lot of people who felt like their schools were maxed out, their resources were maxed out, their hospitals were full because they've had this huge legal migrant influx. And even if culturally it's a shift for people, it's okay to hold space for Americans who are saying, this isn't working for me, or I'm not comfortable with it. You should hold space for that without immediately saying those people are xenophobic and racist and anti-immigrant. But so I think Wes Moore has great potential. Obviously, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan. And now, what do all three of those people have in common? They're very centrist and they're very practical. So the challenge is, how does the Democratic Party get into the big tent? Because there's other people who are Democrats who would say the outcome of the election means Democrats need to push further to the left.
That's my concern. So take somebody like AOC. Not about her person. I'm now doing a branding thing.
She's a great communicator.
But what I'm saying is, so many people, so many of those swing voters said, "Oh, it's the party of AOC. She is symbolic of we're lurching so far left." And the problem is the Democrats need a big tent, so they need her and her people under the tent. Yet if she's under the tent, the other side gets to use her as a kind of a bellwether for, this is where the party is.
Yeah, it's just like the phrase, it's just like the title Democratic Socialist or defund the police, right? Those are triggers for lots of centrists who are like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Steph Ruhle, before I let you go, so to all the folks out on this,
who do you think is exciting on the Democratic side?
The exact people you named, and I love Wes Moore and Josh. To me, I think those were the two that I would pick. I don't think a Democratic woman can win. I think that it's really I think our first woman president is going to be Republican. I think that.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
That you could see the math adding up. I think it's much tougher for a woman to win than I think people even understand.
Wait, who do you think is running on the Republican side next time? Because Donald Trump, when he was interviewed by Bret Baier before the Super Bowl, didn't say, yeah, it's obviously JD.
I think it's Don Trump Jr. I think he wants to set up a family tradition for that. I think that's or Ivanka. I can really see that. I don't see Trump one way or another letting go of the Trump neon sign in front of the White House ruling the world. I don't see how that happens. I don't see him turning and passing over one of his children for J.D. Vance. 4
years ago, I 100% would have agreed with you. Today, I don't know that I agree with you, because today, all of his children are so wealthy and they are living much bigger lives than they ever had. I'm not sure that they would. And the other lane I can see is JD running with Don Jr. as his VP. So they're still doing it, but right. Never forget, if Trump really blows up here, Nikki Haley is waiting in the wings.
Yeah. Look, she would be the obvious one. Hey, Steph Ruhle, I love you. You are the best. You speak it as Trump said. You punch people right in the face. I love it. Watch the 11th hour. Must see TV. You're the best kid.
Thanks, Donny.
Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.